What's up? It's your boy Carcino here, back again. And let's get into it. Let's look at what happened with Undisputed, the show with Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless, versus First Take. Skip has a contract which pays him $16 million. That's massive. Fox Sports 1 and Jamie Horowitz, who created the out layers of First Take, being a debate show completely for 2 hours, went to work for Fox Sports 1 as part of Fox Sports gearing up to take aim at the Disney empire, which is ESPN. Since Disney has taken over ESPN, you've seen so many exits because the company is such a giant. They don't care about the innate value that some of the senior talent bring to the table. Quietly, they have been trying to get rid of Boomer. You know, they want to try to send him off to the pastures. They want him to kind of retire on his own, but he still loves what he does and still wants to work. Fox Sports 1 loves the Boomer. Would not love more than to have Boomer come work for them. Would love nothing less than having another pin to stick into ESPN. Now, First Take, even though it's #1 show in its slot, ESPN can do without this show. They don't care. What they care about is their image, their athletes. And at that time, they wanted to look out and not have any controversial issues between the host and athletes on the show. They didn't want to have issues in which would basically give a black eye to the corporation. Like, let's say the incident with Ray Rice, how ESPN handled that situation. Mark Stein and those guys had to handle the situation the way they did to keep Disney happy. And now Stephen A. Smith is on a zero policy because of that. Which means that if he has another incident such as that, which I had no problem with what he said, but because of that incident, he's on a zero tolerance policy. And because of that zero tolerance, he can't really go in and do the things that Stephen A. Smith is normally to do. He's being under surveillance, and they would void his contract, and they could do a buyout based on the incident that would happen next. But it's a way to void his contract if another such incident is to happen. He may not just be suspended. See, Disney is very powerful. They crush relationships, they own everything, and they just don't care. Fox is different. Fox is relentless. It's, we don't care, we just want to be #1 and beat somebody. They got money to spend. Murdoch doesn't care. And they just want to bury ESPN. And Jamie Horowitz definitely wants to bury First Take because he felt ESPN shortchanged him when he went to Fox Sports 1, like, we don't even need you. You can go, like, you're not a difference here. And that's one way to bring about hurt and pain to somebody there. So they're back with a vengeance. And you're going to see the reason for this happening this way. See, I'm going to explain to y'all, because people don't know about television. Let me explain to you how this works. There's a reason why Undisputed comes on 30 minutes before First Take. Because they want to get all the viewers who are up already watching television, watching their show. And once you start watching their show, you're not going to want to flip over to First Take. Rather than have them come on at the same time. You come on 30 minutes earlier and you leave off the same time. So instead of doing a 2-hour show, you do a 2.5-hour show. And what you're going to do is start to drain that First Take viewership. You're draining them. Granted, this has only been one episode, so there's not too much to assess, but I'm going to give you guys the grounds of like why this beef is happening. And the beef is happening not just from a business standpoint. This is personal. Fox Sports don't like ESPN. Most of their employees are disgruntled employees that used to work for ESPN. They made an aggressive attempt at college football. They made an aggressive attempt at boxing. They made an aggressive attempt at NASCAR. They're making an aggressive attempt at everything, and they are gaining traction on ESPN because finally, being the giants that ESPN were, they got pretty arrogant and they became the it girl at the prom. And then they became divas. And people got tired and sick of the diva-like attitude that they possessed and was dictating throughout the sport. Skip Bayless and Richard Sherman incident is one of the incidents, one of the major incidents on the show where Skip felt he couldn't really say anything back to the guests because ESPN wouldn't allow it. And he wanted to go back at Richard Sherman, but ESPN was terrified, and it was a debate about pulling the show, changing the show's format, the aggressive format, like downplay it. So they start calling each other brother, my brother. Like they wanted to cool the jets between Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless and be like, no, they're really friends. You know, they're work colleagues, you know, and they understand they're columnists in this business. And it's very hard to get a columnist in the sport and try to make something work where there's chemistry on the screen. It's kind of hard. If you watched Around the Horn, it's very difficult to do. Most columnists are not television ready people. If you take a look at Woody and Jay Mariotti and all these guys, they're not made for television. You know, these guys they're writers. So their hair is flaky and all over the place. The collar's all messed up. Why would you wear that jacket on the show? You know, they look none prepared for television. They're like they fell out of bed. That's how a columnist looks. Now, when you're on television, you make the show look bad. So they need to have you prepped and ready, and somebody who's camera ready is in a different scenario altogether. So now you're starting to go into a whole nother realm. You're going into a realm of what's good, what's not good, what's acceptable, what's tolerable, what's not tolerable. And then you have something like what Max Kellerman was doing. Max Kellerman was doing Pardon the Interruption, I believe, with Marcellus Wiley. They have outstanding chemistry. Outstanding chemistry over there at ESPN. Their show is fun, it's interactive. They go through all these different things. It's not a debate show, but it really is, but they kind of just go over different narratives. Where Max Kellerman, it's fun. You know, the whole show is basically fun, and they go over certain topics and issues, but they have a lot of fun on that show. Where Max Kellerman can really relax and don't have to be so tight all the time. Here, this is more like his ESPN role. I mean, his HBO boxing role. It's more like, we want you to be reserved. Like, you must protect the ball. Which is Disney. Max Kellerman is safe. He's going to take the company approach all the time. Which is a guy who used to push the envelope. But now when you're getting paid millions of dollars, you know, and you get the increase, the bump, and everything else, you know, it's acceptable. And the fact that they have a contract with HBO Boxing to promote HBO Boxing on the show with Max Kellerman. Plus, Max Kellerman is UFC friendly. You know, he likes Dana White. They always had a great relationship even before he came with ESPN. I mean, with HBO. Max Kellerman almost got a job with the UFC. You guys didn't even know that, but it was on the tables. So he defended the UFC one time on HBO Boxing, pay-per-view, Mayweather versus De La Hoya, to be honest, and almost got him in trouble on his first gig ever on the network. So, there's a lot of things out here. This is just round one. Okay, Undisputed came out swinging. And just like, you know, a new show, you're looking at a format. Because now you're entering Shannon Sharpe. And a lot of you guys don't remember Shannon Sharpe because you're too young to remember him as a player. Remember him probably on Fox Sports, where they don't get controversial. They just basically have him speak, and that's that. You know, and he got to work with a lot of the great talents there, but he got replaced. You know, Shannon was very opinionated and felt that certain things were not going his direction because he's an athlete, and he brought a lot of personality to the Fox Sports team. And what he did was, well, I think it was actually the AFC, might have been CBS he was on, but I know he worked with Bradshaw. But what he did was brought a lot of personality and in-depthness to the character of Shannon Sharpe, because a lot of people saw him when he played, he was a funny personality. Him and the Ray Buchanan incident is probably one of the funniest things ever during a Super Bowl week leading up to the beat. The reporters would love to interview Shannon Sharpe because he gave you great sound bites, he gave you great work. So if you was a writer or anything, you loved Shannon Sharpe because he was always the funny one. He was always going to say something that was hilarious and crack everybody up. When they made the selection to choose Shannon Sharpe to be the co-host for the show, I said, look out. Because I knew what this was going to be. I said, oh, this is going to be explosive. Because Shannon Sharpe is passionate. He's a former NFL player. They're starting to show on the beginning of the NFL season. He is a guy that don't back down. He stands by his decision. He loves LeBron James. And Skip Bayless loves LeBron James. And it's going to be great batter going back and forth every day over these topics. But now we want to see them on when there's other events going on within the sport. Other topics that they're not so comfortable with, like the Dallas Cowboys, LeBron. I knew they were going to kick it off with Dallas and then LeBron, because that's Skip's team. So that's like a layup for him to kick off the show. Kick it off with the Cowboys and Tony Romo. You know, that's how you would do it. But now you have a situation where it's not about that anymore. Now it's about substance. And only time will make that known. And then we can say who's winning, who's losing. First Take has went through it already. They've had to go through the storm of going through days when there's not a lot of material. Everybody has those days. Especially when you do something like here on YouTube. We do stuff every day. Fortunately for us, though, we can go back into the past, which we mostly do. Tell you about things you didn't know about and keep it going. And people are like, dude, how do you keep doing? Easy. There's always something going on in life. Whether you're paying attention to it or not, that's up to you. Now, since they brought in Max Kellerman on the show, going back to the network situation, since they brought in Max Kellerman, remember they had three guys, that Will Kane, that Jorge Sandano, which is George, they called him on the show, and none of these guys had the credentials to be a replacement for Skip Bayless. All of these guys are safe company men, with Will Kane having the most personality. Max Kellerman is more senior than these guys. He's more seasoned. His face is known. His name is more known. The other guys, they didn't hold water. They had auditions on the show. It didn't work out. Max Kellerman tested better because they've actually worked together before. And, you know, they have a good, like, you can tell they're friends. And they try to start off with something to help Max ease into it, like boxing, Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, and all of these different things, but to ease Max Kellerman into First Take, but it has not been a show of great transition for Max. The chemistry don't mesh. And if you see it, it's obvious this is not a good fit. Now, will they work on it, and will Max, you know, do a little more and be a little more challenging on the show? I don't know, because it's not his character. I've already spoken on this before, so I don't want to beat a dead horse, but we've already spoke. It's his character. It's just not in him to be that type of person. And the show may suffer because of it. You know, I pointed out the obvious, and from the comment section, people see it and like, man, you were right, Carson. You know, you were right, man. You were right. You were right. You were so right. So, with that being said, y'all tell me what y'all thought of Undisputed's first episode. Who you think's gonna win between First Take and Undisputed. And I'm thinking that we're going to have an amazing season for Undisputed. It's going to be amazing because they're going to have Richard Sherman on that show. They're going to have the debates where Skip can go after him. They want that. It's great for television. And I'm guaranteeing you, right now, I don't see First Take making it with Max Kellerman and Stephen A. Smith. Hosts alone doing the show. Stephen A. Smith doing a great job trying to pull the wagon of the show, but it's too much. It's just too much. So, on that note, I'm out. Follow the playlist. Don't forget to click the cards up there. There's going to have a playlist in there so you guys can follow on and enjoy the battle.